Hello and welcome back to the Rope Access and Climbing Podcast. I'm your host, Mikey Stevenson, and today I'm going to be diving into a conversation about rope protection with James Hollingsworth from the UK. If this is your first time here, please make sure to subscribe and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. So stay tuned. Step into your harness and get ready for a podcast about the vertical world. All right. Well, thank you for tuning into today's episode. I am joined here with James. I'll let you introduce yourself and go from there.
Hi, Mikey. Thanks for having me on. Real privilege. My name's James Hollingsworth. I live in the east of England in the UK. I run a company called James Access. My role at the company is owner-operator, if you like. Current level, IRATA level 3. And I head up all the jobs in regards to pre-work analysis, risk assessment, method statements, rescue plans, etc. I've been involved in rope access for about 10 years now. Varied background, started in London, mainly window cleaning, some light construction work. Then moved into offshore work, oil and gas, then into the wind industry, and more recently power plants and energy from waste plants. And yeah, that's a little background on me.
Awesome. So on today's episode, we are diving into a post that you made on LinkedIn. As well, we're going to kind of dive into the rope protection side of things, talk about, what we think about, just so we're all aware. This is two people having a discussion about rope protection. I posted a acceptable, unacceptable photo there on Friday and made a recap video. So it was kind of perfect timing that we all kind of, both of us made posts right around the same subject at the same time, but yet we're two different locations in the world and obviously dealing with the same problems. So what to expect? So what we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about the post. We're going to talk about, what the future looks like, having a discussion about rope protection and kind of our thoughts on it. And we're going to dive into a couple different pieces of rope protection, both hard and soft rope pro. And yeah, I think it should be a good episode covering all that sort of stuff. All right, so kick this off here. I contacted you after seeing this post on LinkedIn about poor practices, poor rope protection mitigation situations that you've encountered, this little video that you had. And yeah, can you dive into that a little bit and just let's see where it goes from there?
Yeah, sure. Again, thanks for having me on, Mikey. Real privilege.
Absolutely.
Really enjoy your podcast and your work. It's great to be on.
So
yeah, the post on LinkedIn, it's obviously got a bit of airtime now. And it's great that it's reached you across the pond there.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it's causing some discussion, because obviously it is something that's an issue, and it is something that's going on, not just UK, obviously, but globally. So I'm glad it's raising awareness of the subject. So my initial idea for the post was born from the number of social media posts that were showing poor rigging, wrong choice of equipment, but the main one that kept on coming up was poor or inadequate rope protection. And as I say, for those of you that haven't seen the post, it was a post that I put in regards of, was it right for me to approach the individuals and the companies that were posting these pictures and highlighting the fact of the failings. So that was more the idea of the post. Was it is it right for me to highlight these to them? And of course, I always do it privately. I don't believe in public flogging,
Yeah.
no matter how bad it is. So yeah, it was more of a case of what was people's stance on it? What was the consensus? Should I approach, or should I just sit back and look at it privately? For me, I feel that I have to approach them. As I say, I do it privately. I always say it's just a heads up. I'm not digging. I'm not backstabbing any of the contractors that are doing the work. I'm not fighting to get their work or anything like that. It is literally just a heads up, and I always say that.
Yeah, it's just another person looking out for another person.
Yeah. But obviously, some people don't take it like that. I've got some bitter responses. What's it got to do with me? We've worked all around the world doing this. Who am I to comment? We've been in business X amount of years, and those are genuine responses. That's not me making it up just to make a post. They are what people are saying. It's not
absolutely. Yeah. I've done the same thing myself multiple times. And I just like you, I don't believe in, making a public statement out of things. You should take this stuff private. But, these comebacks or, responses, that you're receiving, they're the same as I get too. And it's really daunting. You want to be an educator, a helper, intervene in stuff. And yet this is the approach that people have. They feel that you're, personally attacking them or their business, or, I can understand, taking a little bit of pride in what you're doing and, having someone point out the flaws, but, criticism, positive, negative, is still criticism. It's, it's helpful criticism. We're looking out for each other. We're looking out for the well-being of our industry. It's not a large industry, let's be honest. And one incident ripples through our industry pretty quickly. So, these are the same responses that I've seen personally myself. So,
yeah, I mean, you say it ripples through the industry. I mean, back to 2011, sadly, someone lost their life due to poor planning and hazard identification, and B, poor rope protection. So that's someone's life, that could have been saved by doing things right, And if someone was there to point that out, the poor person could still be here today, But it's one of those, isn't it? As you say, criticism, it should be taken constructive. I only deal in fact. You can't argue with fact. Of course, I've got my own opinions, but I try to steer it directly to fact. Then, as I say, you can't argue with fact, can you?
No, and when you're looking at these situations, you have to talk in facts. You can't talk about personal opinions here, right? And that's what we're going to be talking about a lot today is, the facts are written in the code books. That's what we're going to be talking about. We're not, we are obviously going to, have our personal opinions and our joint opinion here, but at the end of the day, we are also talking about what both IRATA and SPRAT, mandate, right? Yeah. Because at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to is it right or wrong? And yeah, so yeah, talking about facts, removing the, the bull crap, if you will, from this situation, not here to, offend anyone, but, tell it as it is, per se.
That's right. Yeah. And, the post has got a positive reaction, which is good. It just shows that there are people out there who are, similar thinking as ourselves, and seem to be saying it's the right approach, to be highlighting these things. which is great, you know. And as I said at the start, you know, it's definitely a topic that won't go away at the minute. It's been, you know, a good 10 years, 9 years, and it's still a problem. So yeah, the more highlight it gets, the more people talking about it, the more eyes on it, you know, perhaps it may change, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, we're having a conversation about this because, you know, this is a common thing that I find here in North America. Obviously it's a common thing that you're finding over in the UK to get you to that point where you had to voice your opinion, and voice this, you know, socially, so people can see where you stand and what your take on this is. And, you know, it's good to see people like that are stepping up to the plate to, you know, start that conversation. And, you know, that's what we need. We need to start the conversation, get more people involved in conversation. And, you know, this is how we start moving the needle. So,
that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Awesome. So let's see here. And you were saying like the general consensus is that, you know, people are pretty happy with it. They're excited, or, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's
the feedback's been positive.
Yeah, it's been a positive reaction. You know, as I say, the initial post was to see what the consensus was with should I be approaching these people, these individuals, or companies, and the general consensus is yes, you should be. A lot of people saying the same things. Yes, someone's life could be dependent on it. Learning from failings, you know, these are all things that, you know, that people are coming up with, and it is true. You know, it's I had some feedback from a company owner that wants to know how he can put trust in his contractors, you know, because unfortunately they were one of the people in the video. So, you know, it is a talking point. It's bringing that knowledge. Obviously, the guy who did call me or contact me hasn't got a very good technical grasp of rope access. They're a company that just employ subcontractors in to do some work.
Which is fine. You don't have to have a wealth of knowledge in rope access to own a rope access organization. That's where you really, you know, you grasp at those people that, you know, are, you know, the access professionals and the people that have the experience to bring that to your organization. You know, you don't have to be, you know, a top dog in the rope access industry to own and operate a company.
By far,
that's totally fine.
By far, no. It's but I explained to him, you know, there's certain ways in which that he could get that peace of mind to know that the contractors that you're getting in are compliant, you know.
Yep.
So, you know, it's great that it's a talking point, and it's bringing its eyes to the subject.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, you know, those audits and stuff, you know, in-person audits, random audits are the best way to keep people honest, right? You're going to catch them off guard, and you're going to catch good, bad, or otherwise. And, you know, like, audits are not a bad thing. You know, you can highlight some pretty positive aspects and really, you know, puff up someone's feathers from having a good audit, but it's going to tell you the truth, right? Like when you know, an unplanned, you know, organized audit, random audit, it's gonna pull the truth out of the situation.
Of course, yeah. And I explained this to him. I said this was one of the options, unannounced site audits. You know, turn up. Don't want to be giving them a week's notice, because obviously people will put things in place. You know, it's not a true reflection of how they normally work. So unannounced, asked to see all their paperwork side of things, you know, risk assessment, method statement, rescue plan, how they're going to be rigging. And don't get me wrong, like you've said, you know, it's not all the bad. You know, if they're doing great, that's brilliant. You know, you can give them a good, you know, praise, you know, and I'm sure the company owner will be over the moon if he knows that he's got good contractors on the job, you know. So it's not all
Absolutely.
about the bad. It is about highlighting the good things as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a way that could be looked at for making sure compliance is being fulfilled.
So currently right now, rope protection isn't regulated by anyone. There's no set standards on testing that any one piece of rope protection has to meet. So the quality of rope protection, both soft and hard rope protection, can vary drastically. And yet thousands of people here every day rely on it to keep them safe. What's your take on this? Like, why is it something that we rely on so much? It's in the hierarchy of rope protection. And yet it's the one thing that doesn't have any regulation. It just blows my mind that, you know, you can use any other item of equipment when doing rope access. It has to adhere to a standard, yet rope protection doesn't. It's completely, you know, been surpassed, if you will, in the system. And, you know, some manufacturers go out of their way to do some testing, but yeah, what's your take on this?
So yeah, it's when the more you start saying it, you know, the more you think about it, and you think, well, yeah, this is an important, integral part of our system, you know. So if we take, for instance, our rope access PPE comes under category 3. So anyone that doesn't know the categories, category 3 basically protects the user against serious risks such as death or damage to health. So for instance, harness will be a category 3 PPE. So with that in mind, you know, rope protection, protecting the two 10.5 mil or 11 mil ropes that you're using is pretty important, you know. So I'd put it on par with that category of PPE. And when you say, you know, it doesn't conform, or there's no set standard for rope protection at the moment, the more you, as I say, the more you say it, the more crazy as it sounds, because for something so integral, it is, you'd think there would be a standard for it. I know,
you know, every other piece of gear that we rely on, literally, you know, if it's a load-bearing piece of equipment, it has to adhere to a standard, and it has to be properly used in accordance with the instructions from the manufacturer. Without question, no other way to deal with it. Yet, rope protection literally has 100% of your mass suspended from it.
Yeah.
And yet, there's no standard for it. It just... I'm still trying to wrap my head around that whole concept that, you know, there is nothing. There's no standard. There's no testing. There's no, you know, no governance behind it.
I think it definitely needs to be looked at, because obviously, as we've said, for something that's so integral and something that, you know, IRATA, I can't speak for SPRAT in the UK, but definitely IRATA, they emphasize a lot, you know, they've, you know, produced posters on protecting ropes. They've done the safety bulletins. I think it's 22. You got Annex P of the ICOP. You know, for something
topic sheet number 6.
Yeah.
You know, it's labeled in multiple different places in the International Code of Practice in Section 2 that refers to double protection, protectors for anchor lines, you know, significantly abrasive surfaces. So it's brought up multiple times, but, you know, at the end of the day, we're going to be looking at the wording here, and that's going to be kind of the hardship here, is kind of get around the wording.
Definitely. But yeah, it's definitely something that's gonna, I feel, is on par with your harness categories. So as I say, PPE category 3 protect us against serious risks. such as death or irreversible damage to health.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's up there with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, like, I don't know. It's kind of one of those weird ones. So, yeah, it is what it is at the moment. But you know, having these conversations will maybe move that needle, get that conversation started, making people think about things differently. You know, at the end of the day, you wouldn't ask one person to put one sling on their anchorage, and if it's an abrasive, you'd put some sort of a softener on that one sling. When we talk about you know, rope access and double protection, where does it stop?
Exactly.
Where does it start? We'll dive into that later. So you do have a number of different rope protectors you were talking about, both soft and hard rope protectors. You want to dive into those, and for the individuals here that are watching this on YouTube, you'll definitely be able to see the different rope protectors and, you know, kind of understand what we're talking about. And for the viewers or the listeners on the podcast, we're going to do our best at, you know, vocalizing it the best that we can, to kind of paint the picture for you if you're just listening to this on a podcast.
Yeah, I'll try my best to. Okay, so
awesome.
We couldn't have a discussion without putting in. Before we start, there isn't one rope protector that does all jobs. They each have their own place, and this is where hazard identification comes in during your pre-work analysis, and then you risk assess on that. So with this one, it's what you'll probably see a lot of, and one that sparked interest in the post as well.
The majority of the posts, probably.
Yes.
Or the majority of your initial comments were originated from this canvas sheath.
Yes.
Let's call it a sheath.
I can't call it protector. So for very light abrasion, this is used for.
Very light abrasion, yes.
Canvas sheath with Velcro sides allows you to encapsulate the rope within it. So
yeah, probably one of the most common ones out there that most people are familiar with. But keep in mind that these standard fabric sheaths or, you know, canvas sheaths, therefore light abrasion. So, you know, if you're climbing up a rope, this is on the rope, protecting the rope for you swinging around, coming in contact, brushing up against something, but not full commitment, full contact situations.
That's right. So the reason why I've picked this one is because on the side it is sewn in instructions, and the top one, there's 4 pictures. Top one shows how it should be used with a tick, which is ropes hanging free from any obstruction and perpendicular to the edge. So that's how it should be used. Second pictorial down, exclamation mark, and the ropes are just touching the edge. So already they're saying there's a warning there. Okay. Third pictorial down, you have ropes on the edge and they have lateral movement. So as if a technician is moving from left to right, and that has a cross through it. Okay, so it's not for that work scope. And then the fourth picture, which is probably where I see this piece of canvas used the most, is over a 90-degree edge, and the technician is either going up or down. So, and that has got a cross through it as well. So again, it's telling you there what it can and can't be used for. And they're the manufacturer's instructions. That's what you should be looking at. Can I use it for this, or can I not? And it's on there. So that one's out of the way. Okay, the next one is this by DMM, DMM Rope Pro. I think it's called K Pro. So it's 2 layers of canvas. but within the 2 layers, you have a sheet of aramid.
Okay.
Again, similar design, encapsulates the rope, Velcro both sides. This one, again, they do say that this isn't the best choice for going over 90-degree edges on their instructions. But with this, as I said, DMM have done some testing and have rated these. And another one that I'll show you in shortly. So with this, emergency lowering. So if you've got this over an edge and you are lowering, with a 2-person load, you can only lower 10 meters.
That's not very much. Wow.
No.
10 meters. So for the people in North America, okay, we are talking 30-ish feet, roughly 35 feet, or, 30-foot-long subs. Okay. All right.
So that's lowering. For hauling, so raising up of a casualty or 2. So they've rated it as 200 kilos in hauling, and you can only raise 5 meters.
Wow, that's cut in half, just by friction and movement. Exactly. Wow.
So obviously, as we've said, when you're choosing rope protection, not only are you choosing it for your work task, but you're also choosing it for the rescue scenario as well. So
absolutely.
Again, planning, hazard identification, and so on.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and this goes to the conversation that I like to bring up to people is you got to rig the job for the rescue and then adjust the rigging according to the scope of work, right? And like the whole rigging plan is the biggest aspect here, right? Like you're talking about it right there with the rope protection. You got to make sure that you're using the proper rope protection for the rescue. If you're hauling and lowering, that's going to really dictate what kind of rope protection you can use or what kind of mitigation you're going to implement in that situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So moving forward, we've got some hard RopePro now. So we've got a CMC rope tracker.
Yeah.
Articulates up to 90 degrees, so we'll go over an edge.
Yeah.
You've got multiple attachment loops. So you can join 2 together if you've got an extra long area that you wish to protect.
Yeah. And this one here is really nice because they have those little areas for the rope to fall into. They can't just inadvertently come out. Super awesome. Nice hard plastic. So you're not really too worried about the abrasion factors and stuff like that. Obviously hot surfaces, you wouldn't want to put plastic on a hot surface, but for edges and stuff, we're talking, great option. Love to see those being used.
So we'll come back to them again in a minute because I like to show them again. Next one is the CMC Flex.
Yeah.
So again, hard plastic, can articulate into 90 degrees. Rope can run through the ridges. Again, you can buy clips that clip them together. You can have one on top of the other, so you encapsulate them inside.
And
again,
super simple.
Yeah, nice,
very basic,
nice, simple design. Again, I think this was designed for the fire rescue market.
Yeah,
and then
makes sense.
And then has come into the industrial market as well.
Makes sense. Like it's simple, right?
So I'll come back to that one as well. Again, next is something by Lion. It's a little steel edge guard. This one is only for 1 rope only. They do make a longer one.
Okay.
But this is for 1 rope only.
Right.
Sits on an edge, on a 90-degree edge. Got some Velcro little tags that you can put across the rope once it's inside. Nice, neat little rope protector that.
Yeah, and the manufacturer specifies that that's for 1 rope.
Yep, they specify that one for 1 rope. The larger one is for the 2 ropes. So
yeah, so that's the one thing we have to pay attention to is just the manufacturer specifications again.
Exactly. So this one of my particular favourites. This is a Bill rope defender. It's a coiled steel internal spring that runs through the whole protector, covered in hardware and rubber, very flexible. and yeah, this is one of my favourites for a job we do where we have to pass the ropes through a port in the top of a vessel, and obviously we can still have raising and lowering capability through the rope protection.
That is awesome. I've never seen one of those ones before, but
yeah, really,
you know, the concept is you know, pretty familiar. But I mean, someone to take the onus and you know, design it
so
like that's awesome.
That's from Beale, that one.
Beale, okay.
Something I don't really use that often, but it's handy to have, is a Petzl edge roller. You can buy add-ons, which, you know, extra mayons and these little rollers, so you can add on for length. But as I say, don't use it much unless you're absolutely dead in line with whatever you're trying to haul up. It tends to fall over, and yeah, it's as I say, very rare use it, but it's handy to have.
Big and bulky, heavy.
Yeah, heavy, very heavy.
So if you've watched the IRATA video, then that's literally the word for word almost what the one individual says. Oh, I'm not going to bring that lot. You know, look at how big and heavy that is. Yeah. You know, that feeds into that conversation too, right? Like,
of course.
You know.
But my one with that video, just to pause from the equipment there for a minute. You know, we're talking about industrial work. We're not talking about rescue teams that have got to carry kit for miles and stuff like that. We're talking about industrial work where things should be properly planned. And, you know, if it needs that bit of kit, we're having that bit of kit. You know, it's not a case of, it's a bit heavy to get up there. If it needs it, we'll use it. You know, it's
so one thing that I like to talk about, I've said this on jobs before when things start going south. Piss poor planning leads to piss poor performance. And that's what that is just, you know, if you haven't sat down, did your planning, executed your plan, you know, it's just going to go, when you start having to make things up on the fly, that's when everything goes downhill.
Exactly.
Cutting corners and all that stuff.
That's right. I know you've got a supplier out in Canada, Dirk at Rope's Edge. Something very, well, not similar to this, but the concept of going through gratings. Yes. So he's got the Vortex. DMM have brought out their Edge Hog. Goes through the gratings. 17mm bolts at the top that you do with the spanner, and 2 holes for the ropes to run through. Easily raise and lower through that. Good bit of kit for working through gratings.
I've used them myself. They're great. You know, they are heavy and a little bit bulky. You do require that extra tool, but, you know, no question about its durability, no question about its effectiveness. A great piece of gear.
Yeah, we've got a couple of them now. They're really handy. Moving on to one of my personal favourites at the moment. This is by Singing Rock. This is called the Atika.
Ooh, nice.
Stainless steel, goes onto an edge, nice rounded end to it, 2 guides on the plate to make sure the rope's going the right direction.
That'll be really good for those buildings with the metal flashing on the top, so you don't have to worry about damaging anything. So
you've got
nice
a rubber layer on the internal there to stop any unwanted movement or slippage. A couple of eyelets at the back.
Little bulky, but, you know, super effective.
If you know and it's planned, you know, and you know it's suitable. Like I say, with all these, they all have their place. There's not one fits all, if you like. But
no.
But yeah, really liking them at the moment. We've got a few of them now.
Awesome.
So coming on to something that probably be quite familiar to a lot of people. Again, DMM. This is the Rope Pro pad. So it opens up, 4 layers of canvas. And in the back, under this canvas here, there is like a natural husk, almost like coconut matting, rubber backed inside that canvas. Then they have this wear sheet. Really good bits of kit.
Yeah.
Really, really tough. Again, they've done some testing on this. So for 200 kilos, if you've got this rigged on your rigged for rescue system, if you're lowering through it, 200 kilos, you can lower 100 meters on this.
Wow. That's substantially more than the other one.
Yes, a lot more than the smaller K Pro. And then obviously hauling, if you was to raise two people, 200 kilos, that comes down to 30 meters. But yeah, a good bit of kit. But also, as I say, I wanted to go back to the SMC Flex. I've actually used both in conjunction with one another. So placed the Flex inside of the DAM Pro Pad. And also
that would just really help it from having those ropes flip off the side of the pad, or any sort of side-to-side movement. That would really benefit as well.
So as I say, I've used the Flex and the tracker in conjunction with the rope pad, and it works really well.
That's awesome.
And the last one, we've just started to use these. I've got a few of these again. This is by Abtech. Now, at first, it may seem just like a large canvas sheet.
It looks like a big sheet, with a bunch of ribs in the middle of it.
So you can see the ribs. Okay, so with inside, they've got plastic inserts, so it is ribbed. Very hard wearing. As I say, it is large. I think it's about 1 meter by 700, so 1,000 mil by 700. Gives you a good area. And again, you can use it in conjunction with any of the others, so the tracker, the Flex, or the rope pads on there.
Right.
But yeah,
awesome.
It's a good bit of kit.
Little bulky, but definitely super effective. And sometimes you have those long radius kind of edges that you have to get over. So something like that, instead of adding multiple pieces together to make it work, they actually have one that's designed that way.
That's right. Awesome. Yeah. So that's just a selection of ones that we have. Obviously, wire slings if you wanted to do bypasses and stuff like that. And obviously, we've talked about the wrap, remove, avoid, protect. So obviously we are looking at the protect side of things. Rather than going into the remove and avoid. But there are a few of the options that are available on the market at the minute. There are others, don't get me wrong, but it depends on the work scope and what you need.
Absolutely. And it's just going back to the regulation side of things. It's just like, we're first told to, with the hierarchy here is, you remove the hazard if you can, you avoid the hazard if you can't, and then you protect. It's so important for all of this stuff that we, it's not regulated, but yet it's so important that it makes it to the third line of the hierarchy. It's protect, which is the last line of defense here. And yet there's still no certification for anything, no standard testing or anything like that. You've mentioned a number of different manufacturers there. Rope's Edge is another manufacturer that does internal testing on the equipment, and it has, tech sheets as well on both Vertex and the Edge. But there's still no standard for that even. The manufacturer doesn't have any recommendations of how it's supposed to be tested, what it's supposed to uphold. DMM is doing a great job in doing that, their due diligence there. Rope's Edge is doing a great due diligence as well from their perspective, but still no standards for rope protection, and we rely on it so frequently. So it's interesting. It's kind of scary, actually, but
the more you say it, the more scarier it becomes.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. So, thanks for showing all those different types, and it's great to see that you're passionate about the rope protection conversation, is passionate about rope access. It's great to see that you as a operator, owner of a company, sending people out with, extremely adequate rope protection, you're sending people out to work with multiple different options. In a lot of cases, all you get is, maybe the DMM Edge Hog or the Vortex and, standard soft canvas rope protection. Those are the only two options you get for a lot of rope access companies. It's really awesome and inspiring to see that you are just like, nope, this is unacceptable. This is what I'm doing. I have a piece of gear for every situation that I've been encountered with. And that really shines through and it really shows. That's awesome to see.
No, thank you. It's nice to hear that. As I say, the guys I have worked with me, they're not just employees or subcontractors. They're friends. So I'd never put them in a position that I'd want to be put in. So having the right kit is essential. If you want to be professional, competent, safe, them three words that are really important to us. Then that's what you do, isn't it?
Yeah. There's no price on safety. I know that's cliche to say, but no matter what those items cost, at the end of the day, it's your safety. It's the safety and of your workers and the people that are hoping to go home to their families each and every day. There has to be more emphasis on this rope protection. There has to be.
I totally agree.
From someone, if it's a regulating body, or if it's an organization, a certifying body, such as IRATA and SPRAT, I don't know who it is, but somebody needs to put their foot down somewhere. But currently, IRATA and SPRAT do not require you to double up your rope protection. They have made public statements for rigging plates that they have to be doubled up, which is everyone's most favorite conversation right now. Shunts, they made public statements that you can't use shunts, and that's also in accordance with the manufacturer as well. And stuff like that. But yet they still haven't done anything for rope protection that I'm aware of. I could be wrong, and if I am missing that statement, please link it in the comments, email it to me, let me know about it. But right now I'm unaware of this statement. But they still currently right now under the FACTS, i.e. the International Code of Practice for IRATA and SPRAT safe work practices, they rely on training and the risk assessment to manage if it's single or double. Now, it kind of goes back and steps back a second here to maneuvers of rope access of single and double deviations, but they've actually made statements there and put out statements for single and double deviations. When do you require a single deviation? When do you require a double deviation? When is it acceptable for either or? But yet still rope protection, yet again, has been missed. Now we can't put all rope protection under the same umbrella. Okay. We have soft rope protection. That's primarily what we're talking about here today. Because the hard rope protection is manufactured, and a lot of the manufacturers, as we stated previous, have done their due diligence and done internal testing to ensure a certain line of quality and insurance to their consumers. So the soft rope protection, the ones that can be cut, okay, if you can just walk up to an edge and cut it with a sharp edge, that's what we're talking about here. Why would you not double it up? It doesn't make sense to me. You wouldn't hang on one rope. Why would you hang on one rope protector? You wouldn't hang on one backup device. So why would you hang on one backup or one rope protector? You wouldn't put two slings around a piece of anchorage and only put one rope protector around one of the two slings, IRATA mandates double protection from the harness all the way through to the anchorage. Am I missing something? But I'm pretty sure there's rope protection between your harness and the anchorage. So, yeah, what's your take on that?
So yeah, it's I don't know where it's going wrong. So
okay,
it's you know, I don't think it's the training. You know, so IRATA say, you know, where individual enclosed anchor line protectors are to be used, you know, each anchor line should be independently protected. You know, that's in the annex, in Annex P. Yeah. So, you know, but it's the wording, isn't it? Should.
It's not a shall, right? And I think there's a lot of people that are getting mixed up or like too fixated, hyper aware of this one word of should.
Yeah.
Just because it's stated as should doesn't mean that you don't have to or you shouldn't go over and above and supersede it.
Yeah.
Now, is that because of you don't know what you don't know? Is that because of poor training? Is that because of poor mentorship? Are we moving backwards? The questions are endless.
Of course, yeah. I mean, like I say, you know, okay, so you know what a training centre's like. You know what gets taught. I've been in a training centre. I know what gets taught. I know trainers. I know assessors, company owners. I think it's being taught, but I don't think it's being followed out. You know, where you know we could sit here and talk about how they can regurgitate what they've learned. You know, does it come back to, you know, is the course long enough? Anything like that? You know, but saying, you know, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want to protect those ropes? Why? What is stopping you or anyone protecting them ropes? You know, it's crazy.
I guess you could take that question and turn it backwards. What's stopping you from free falling? Like literally, what's stopping you from falling is this rope protector.
Yeah.
I just kind of took that for a second. I was like, wow, like actually, like when you flip the spectrum, is like, what is actually stopping you? You're hanging on two ropes. You have multiple points of a connection to those ropes, and those ropes are connected to anchorage independently. The weakest part of this conversation is the rope protection still.
Yeah.
That's what's stopping you from falling.
Yeah. So why wouldn't you? I mean, it's when the more you say it, the more you think about it, the more you look at it and you think, well, actually, you know, this is a real integral part of that system. Why are we not making more of it? As you say, if IRATA have made a statement over the shunt, over the double protection, you know, perhaps there needs to be a statement made on rope protection. I know, you know, this has been going on since 2011, you know, when the poor guy lost his life, you know, and we're still seeing the same failings today. So perhaps it is time for another statement to come out you know, an update on the ICOP where words are changed. It's not should, it's must or required to, you know. But yeah, it's
some things. I think that some things are left up to the human aspect. Some things you need to organizations and standard organizations, governing bodies need to remove the human error. There's only so much human error that I'm okay with removing, but you know, we've removed the double protection and conversation of human error. We've removed the shunts excluding or removed shunts because, you know, manufacturer specifications and stuff like this made statements about this. maybe this is another thing where we need to remove that human error, that human factor of, you know, is one good enough or is two? Like, how much how much additional energy and time does it take to just put two on?
Exactly. It's, you know, we're talking about seconds, aren't we? We're not talking, you know, it's not going to impact a job. You know, it's not going to, you know, cut down on productivity. You know, it's literally, why not be safe? You know, why not be, you know, it's crazy when you think about it.
It is. So it's something that I'm still trying to wrap my head around, and just that concept of just why. And, you know, going back to the training side of things myself, you know, as an instructor, I look at myself as an educator. Why do I intervene? Because I'm an educator. I'm an educator before I'm a level 3. That's how I look at myself. So, you know, why am I going to intervene? Because I'm an educator. I'm here to educate. I'm not intervening because I feel I'm above you. I'm not intervening because I feel lesser of you. I'm trying to help. I'm trying to learn myself, but I'm also trying to teach other people. Why did I start this podcast? Why did I start the YouTube channel? It's because as an educator, this is who I think I want to identify myself as an educator.
Yeah.
And, you know, by having these conversations with yourself, which is on the complete opposite side of the world for me, still having the same issues as what we're having here in North America. So, you know, by having conversations, by expanding the conversation outwards and having more people involved and more people getting included in this conversation, we can move that needle and educate each other and educate more people so we can all be safe collectively.
Yeah, I mean, it's the way to go, isn't it? It's the way to go.
Absolutely. Safer is better. You know, and something like, no pun intended, I don't know. But at the end of the day, like when, you know, like we're all guilty of it. Okay. How do we know we should do one thing or another? We're all guilty. We want to say something, but we have to look over our shoulder before we say something. You know, you shouldn't say something. Well, how I teach is how do I know I'm supposed to do something? Well, if you have to look over your shoulder, see if someone's watching, you probably shouldn't do it. Your gut's already told you not to do it. So do it right. Don't cut corners. We're all here to be safe.
Treat every day as an assessment day.
Yeah, it's just another day at the office, right? And then when you show up actually at your assessment, you may actually not stress out so much.
Yeah.
So this seems to be a global problem. This is obviously not a problem that I'm encountering here just in North America. Obviously, you're encountering it over in the UK, and in Europe. So this is not just an isolated problem. I also do need to include that this is excluding technical rescue, confined space, fire rescue aspects. This is a rope access conversation. This is isolated to rope access industries. We are not talking about those industries here, so keep that in mind, okay? They operate under different rules. They operate under different circumstances. Usually if you're dealing with technical rescue or fire rescue, something drastic has already happened. They follow different parameters than what we're talking about. We're talking about general operations and training and how this should be conducted. I just want to make sure that we're on the same page here. But this rope protection problem with soft rope protection that could potentially be cut under abrasive or sharp edges is one piece of rope protection, acceptable, unacceptable. Yeah. Obviously, you made a post on LinkedIn, brought you to this conversation. This is how I found you. Yeah.
It's a global problem, isn't it? It's as you say, it's not just the UK, America. You know, it's happening everywhere. And okay, yeah. So to look at rope protection on its own, I don't think it's enough. In my opinion, it's all interlinked. If you look at failings in rope protection, you have to look at failings in hazard identification. If you're looking at failings in that, then there's going to be failings in the risk assessment. And if you look at them, then is there failings in the competence? And if so, it goes back to the training. You know, I don't think there's, from my experience and opinion, I don't think there's a failing in the training as such. Maybe between that word competence and being competent needs to change. Maybe, like we was discussing, you're trained and then you go away, come back, and then you're deemed competent once you've had some experience. But yeah, so there's many ways, you know, and again, many people will have many opinions on it, on how to solve this. And everyone's got their own opinion. But, you know, is the course too short? You know, is 4 days of training enough to deem someone competent, as IRATA and SPRAT say? You know, is that enough? You know, should it be longer? Should the course be longer? Should more emphasis be on hazard identification and how to build a risk assessment and proper method statement? You know, should it be more expensive? You know, what about workshop days, CPD days? You know, throughout a year, you know, go and refresh rescues, anything that you haven't done in a while, any new safety bulletins or topic sheets that have come out, go through them, and a chance to get to know new rope techs as well. You know, we are a small industry when on the size of things. I've founded some fantastic friendships through Rope Access, and you know, that can only be for the better. You know, if you're having a refresher each year, and then obviously site audits. I know we've talked about that already. You know, if you've got that in the back of your mind, you could be audited at any moment. You know, you're going to be on your top game all the time. You know,
absolutely.
Nobody wants a bad audit. I'm sure whoever you're working for, they want a bad audit to land on the desk. Or, you know, if you're an owner operator like me, the pride that I have in doing my own work, you know, I don't want a bad audit. So, you know, it's definitely something you can look at. And even if IRATA or SPRAT, you know, got a third-party audit company in to do it, trained the auditors on what to look for, you know, and everything like that, you know, I know it would be, you know, these are all just ideas and opinions, but it's there's ways that could be implemented, like, you know, even Zoom meetings, you know, to do with the CPD days, as we've talked about. You know, perhaps that's a way they could look at, you know, clarifying knowledge and stuff like that.
Yeah, like, so talking about professional development, talking about CPD, other organizations where you're trained and then you're certified, competence, they've been proven they're successful. Are we there in rope access yet? No. Could it be a trial phase? Yes. We're just two people talking, throwing out ideas and seeing what's going to stick to a wall. But that's what this is just have that conversation to see what, you know, could potentially benefit our industry. But, you know, webinars, they're super simple, right? Like, set up a Zoom meeting, have that, right? There's lots of options.
Lots of options, you know, especially at the moment with COVID and the way things are, you know, setting up Zoom meetings, even if you've got one person in a training center with a camera doing some work on, you know, vectors or forces and loadings and stuff like that, things that people, you know, can brush up on. But yeah, it's definitely food for thought for the likes of IRATA and SPRAT. And don't get me wrong, you know, IRATA and SPRAT, fantastic safe systems.
Oh, absolutely. We're not discrediting the systems at all. We're just looking at how can we make things better.
Yeah,
There's always room for improvement.
of course. And yeah, it's as I say, a great safe system to work to. But yeah, perhaps, like we said, perhaps they need to just put that statement out there and change that wording, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. Sorry that we had to do this twice. Unfortunately, I had some technical issues here. But yeah, how can everyone find you on social media?
Okay, so obviously from the post, I'm on LinkedIn. So just type in my name, James Hollingsworth, it'll come up. Obviously Instagram, again, White Dragon Access, and then obviously the website, whitedragonaccess.com.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Is there anything you'd like to add, or are you?
No, I think just that. Thank you for having me on. It's been an honour. Great that it's becoming a talking point, which I think is a start. But yeah, it's something that definitely needs addressing. And the more people that see these sort of discussions, you know, more eyes on it, it can only be for the better. So again, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for taking the time to have this discussion. I was going to be doing a podcast on this whole topic anyways, and I was like, hey, let's do an interview. Let's make it a little bit different, have a little additional perspective on the topic. So yeah, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for doing this.
No, thank you.
Cheers. All right, have a good one.
Cheers, bye-bye.
All right, well, thank you very much, everyone, for tuning into today's episode. This hour-long conversation kind of dived into a number of different topics. I think a big part of this conversation was talking about hard and good rope protection, and also just that risk assessment side of things. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this episode, if there was anything that we missed that you would like to see on another episode. And in the meantime, please make sure to like this video if you're watching this on YouTube. Follow us wherever you are listening to this on a podcast. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you on the next one.